In 1989, when the first Natchez Literary Celebration was being planned, I knew we needed a special person to be the Director of Proceedings. We preferred that the person be a Mississippian. We wanted an intellectual who loved the humanities and the arts. We wanted someone who spoke well, someone poised and mentally nimble. In other words, we wanted only the best.
Suggested to Carolyn that former Governor William Winter would be the ideal man to do it. So she called him, and William, being the gracious man that he is and interested in literature and in the humanities, said, "I'm honored that you asked me, and I will be delighted to do it."
I was asked to serve as Director of Proceedings at that first meeting. The theme of it was the Natchez Trace.
For 27 years, from 1990 through 2016, Governor Winter served with great distinction as the celebration's Director of Proceedings. He brought with him a contagious level of excitement, enthusiasm, and intellectual curiosity. He was the absolute best.
We were very fortunate to have him there. He was an ideal person to have.
William Winter was an outstanding statesman in Mississippi and beyond. Allowing us to use his name for the conference certainly added a lot of class to the conference.
Governor Winters being an excellent moderator for sessions, he chaired the NLCC proceedings with a great deal of imagination and certainly genteel grace.
Over the years, I've had many visits at the Natchez Literary and Cinema Celebration. And the highlight of those visits each time was to visit with Governor William Winter. Governor Winter was our state's greatest statesman, a true visionary who understood and believed deeply in Mississippi's rich legacy of writers and musicians and artists, those whom the celebration recognizes each year.
William Winter is his ability to make us all feel we were at home. He would stand at the podium, sometimes without notes at all, and in his unmistakably Southern voice, introduce his wife every time, and then turn to us and make us feel that there was nothing else going on in the world that mattered.
As Director of Proceedings for the Natchez Literary and Cinema Celebration, it was Governor Winter's responsibility to keep things moving along and to introduce speakers and presenters. And one of the most important things I remember about that is when he introduced speakers, he usually knew that person personally. And he was able to add a flavor to that presentation that the audience would appreciate. The fact is, he usually told the audience something that they did not already know about that speaker.
Gentleman a long time ago here in a little James River town in Virginia, when Thomas Jefferson came for some sort of celebration. This man, in introducing Mr. Jefferson, simply said, "Stand up, Mr. Jefferson's in town." Well, we won't stand up because it's too crowded in here to stand up. But I'm tempted to say, stand up, Eudora Welty is here. Elise and I have always had a special appreciation for Eudora. But that appreciation was intensified when we found ourselves lonely Southerners on the banks of the Charles River at Harvard a few years ago. And I found the way to get into any place I wanted to get in. I just dropped the fact that I knew Eudora well. Eudora's book, One Writer's Beginning, was the only bestseller Harvard University Press has ever had.
He was such a staunch supporter of the humanities, literature, music, and he often had guests as governor in the governor's mansion. Speaking of Leontine Price, Eudora Welty, Margaret Walker, so he was a perfect match.
I think one of the things that I remember most about William Winter at the Natchez Literary and Cinema Celebration was the point when we recognized the William Winter Scholars each year. Of course, these were representatives from all the colleges and universities in Mississippi, one faculty member, one student. And they all took great pride in being recognized as the scholars, the William Winter Scholars. Governor Winter would, of course, join us each year in recognizing those individuals. And then he would make a special effort to go down and to find out a little bit about them or where they were from and who they were. And I was just always very, very impressed with the time and effort that he spent getting to know those different representatives from the different colleges and universities in our state.
I remember how honored I was when selected to represent my campus as a William Winter Scholar for the Natchez Literary and Cinema Celebration. It was also rewarding to share the recognition by being asked to nominate a deserving student scholar who probably would not have otherwise had the opportunity to attend such an outstanding conference. Being recognized during the conference along with other scholars representing colleges and universities from around the state, and then meeting Governor Winter is an experience and privilege I will never forget.
And Governor Winter played a major role in the Natchez Literary and Cinema Celebration. He had this wonderful aura about him. He was a genuine person, and he was all about racial harmony and equality. He was just a really great leader. What I would refer to as a great statesman. He wasn't a politician, he was a statesman. He loved Natchez, he loved education, and he loved unity.
But I remember the first time that he introduced me. He waxed so eloquently, paying no attention to the truth. And once I stood to speak, it just occurred to me that there is no way that this speech can live up to William Winter's introduction.
William Winter served the celebration in many ways other than as Director of Proceedings. He was a charter member of the advisory board. That group provided invaluable help, suggesting themes, speakers, films, and other activities for each conference. They were our cheerleaders. Governor Winter was a program presenter himself, a gifted researcher and speaker, and as a successful politician, he had firsthand knowledge of the workings of political parties in Mississippi and nationwide. With that background, he presented a clear, concise keynote address in 2004 at a conference called Politics in the Deep South. He was a major supporter of the funding of the NLCC. He and his wife Elise gave money personally and provided help with other gifts and grants. One very important grant was from the National Endowment for the Humanities for $100,000. His letter of support and his name recognition in Washington, D.C. went a long way toward our receiving that funding. It became the bedrock of the conference's annual budget. Likewise, he wrote letters of support for many NLCC initiatives beyond the lecture hall. These include 3 permanent State of Mississippi historical markers sponsored by the NLCC. He helped fund the Richard Wright portrait that now hangs in the Mississippi Hall of Fame in the Old Capitol Museum in Jackson. He was present for its unveiling. Because of his friendship with the chairman of the National Citizens Stamp Advisory Committee, Governor Winter led the way in the NLCC's request for a United States Literary Arts postage stamp to honor Richard Wright.
He served our state for 75 years in civic life, political life, and he was a staunch supporter of racial reconciliation, as well as a staunch supporter of the two museums, our Mississippi History Museum and our Civil Rights Museum, and we would not have either without his vision.
In his quest for social justice, Governor Winters supported a major effort to recognize more than 200 citizens of Natchez who were unlawfully imprisoned for marching for civil rights. These citizens are now memorialized by a monument in downtown Natchez called Proud to Take a Stand.
Well, my personal reaction was one of great dismay that we would be treating Black Americans that way, that we would be locking up folks simply because they were expressing a desire to vote.
During its history, the Natchez Literary and Cinema Celebration won numerous awards. For all of these, William Winter wrote letters and gave interviews. They include the 1995 Cultural Olympiad Award presented by the Olympic Games in Atlanta, the Governor's Award for Excellence in 2011, a citation by National Geographic magazine, the Mississippi Humanities Council Award, and dozens more.
Governor William Winter valued the written word and the history it conveyed, movies that were made and conversations that were held. He understood that tomorrow will always be better when we clearly understand yesterday, and he set an incredible example of how to do that.
He was also an unswerving supporter of social justice and righting the wrongs of the past for the future of our state. As he often remarked, we are halfway home and a long way to go. My deep love and admiration for Governor Winter and for his family know no bounds, and I join you in thanking him for all he did to support the celebration during his amazing lifetime.
Throughout all his endeavors to help us with the NLCC, William Winter was unfailingly kind, intellectual, friendly, upbeat, generous, gracious, and humble. He was indeed the very best Director of Proceedings. A touching example of his modesty arrived every year within a week of the conclusion of the conference. It was a thank you letter written in his beautiful penmanship. He always said he considered the conference the highlight of his year, and each time he thanked us for allowing him to be a part of the celebration.
The celebration has changed this region of the country by its renewing our appreciation of the literary richness that we live with, but that we too often take for granted. I think it has stirred many of us to not only an appreciation of that literary heritage, but it has stirred more of us to make sure that that heritage is preserved and passed on and appreciated by succeeding generations of people.